Um, you know, if we want to talk about character, you could talk about moral strength. That's one way to think about it. Your ability to do the right thing in that moment of passion, in that moment of frenzy, in that storm. How do you pull that out of somebody if that hasn't been developed? They don't have a moral compass, if they don't have a sense of integrity or honesty. Can you replace that as a coach when the parents never really valued that? How much of an influence can you have? Maybe you will be the influence that will make the difference in the life of this young boy or girl. This is James Michener. Character consists of what you do in the third and fourth tries. In the literature, there are two kinds of character. They call it performance character, then they kind of call it kind of the moral character. Performance character is, doing all the stuff like, dedication, commitment, 100% effort, all those kind of things. The moral character is more on civility, compassion, a lot of the things that we think of. But I'm not so sure that distinction is necessary, but the literature has certainly put a lot of that out there. This is my absolute favorite of all time when it comes to character. This is a fabulous, for me it really speaks to the issue. This is Nietzsche's comment. He says, what someone is begins to be revealed when his talent abates, when he stops showing us what he can do. Think about this. That your character really starts to manifest itself, not when you're playing well and everything is kind of flowing out of you. It's when it all stops and everyone is watching. Who are you then? Who are you when all of that genius and all that training comes to an abrupt stop? It abates, and all that's left is you without your skill. Who the heck are you? That is it. Are you a whiner, complainer, screamer, yellow? Do you attack? Do you attack yourself? Do you go after that private voice becomes viciously against yourself? Do you go out to the world? Do you attack outwardly? What is the story there? And this one, I think, is really right at the core of a lot of this stuff. This is another one. The best index to a person's character is how he treats people who can't do him any good, and how he treats people who can't fight back. That may not have as much relevance in the context of tennis, but there might be some there. Ralph Waldo Emerson, one of my all-time favorites, the force of character is cumulative. And so is the bicep. So is integrity. And so are all those things that we so admire in human beings. It's built one little grain of sand at a time. It is never built in a day, and it's never built in a short window of opportunity. It's built cumulatively. And this one, if you were to ask Tiger in a few years, this will be a very interesting story. Character is much easier kept than recovered. Will Tiger ever go to that same position of preeminence in his life? I doubt it. He's supposed to come back at the Tavistock Cup, which is coming up here shortly. I was, really surprised that he would come back that quickly. I was hoping that he would take and maybe make a statement like, I've spent so much of my energy in life around golf since I've been 3 years of age. I think I need to put my energy in some other areas that maybe I have neglected, and to my own serious disappointment and to the disappointment of so many of you, you put me in a place that maybe I didn't deserve. I'm going to go back and do some heavy-duty lifting, and I will come back when I feel like I've kind of tended to the things that maybe are most important in my life. And if I can't get there, I will probably not come back, because golf takes too much out of me. I need to have my energy devoted and directed at the things that truly are most important in my life. If I can do it in a year, I will see you. It's kind of a very important note, very important positioning relative to coaching on purpose. When it's all said and done, who do you want to be? How do you want to be remembered? What do you hope people would say about you that, if it were really true, would make you really proud? That the time that you spent in coaching was the best time you could have spent. That you didn't get derailed and get kind of caught up in something that really didn't serve you well and didn't serve the people that you were coaching well. You know, in this course that I'm talking about, this national certification course in mental toughness, here's just a check sheet. And you would be freaked when you see what players fill out in this little question and answer. This is what the coaches give when they are doing this course for their players after they've gone through it. And they did just some of the issues. Do you like yourself more, or do you like yourself less as a consequence of tennis? Very significant number say I like myself less. Are you more positive as a person, or are you more negative as a person? As a consequence of tennis, think about it very carefully. Do you have a more constructive inner voice or a less constructive inner voice because of tennis? That one, almost invariably, when you have coaches who are misaligned, this one is a complete catastrophe. Do you have greater self-confidence, belief in yourself, or less because of tennis? Are you happier because of tennis, or are you less happy? Imagine how Andre Agassi would have answered this, even answered this at the Nick Volaturri Tennis Academy when he was 15 years of age, when I was there. He was 14, 15, and 16. I guarantee you all these would have been a mess. Are you more focused or less focused? Are you more fragile or less fragile? Are you more stable or less stable? Is your character stronger or is it weaker because of tennis? Are you more self-directed or are you more other-directed? Are you more humble or do you have a bigger ego? That's an important one. You think, well, my players have to have big egos. No! Humility is the precursor that is fundamental to everywhere I go, including military training. Blue Angels Precision Flying Team, you have to be one of the most competent pilots available to the Navy. And the second thing, maybe the first thing, is you must demonstrate humility at all times. Because arrogance or the big ego will get you killed and every member of that precision flying team. In one of the biggest longitudinal studies, Jim Collins, who wrote the book Good to Great, tracked companies who were successful over the longest period of time, the CEOs who directed them. And he found there were only two traits that sustained greatness as leaders in a corporate environment. One is a fierce resolve, unbelievable willingness to invest energy. Big spender when it came to energy and passion, commitment and dedication. And the other one was humility. Those were the only two traits. If you didn't have the passion, and if you didn't have the humility, you were probably not going to succeed. All the people that I've been through and have seen this, it's so crystal clear to me, but it's not clear to most people because and it's certainly not clear to parents. They don't see this as being it always seems to be the successes. Did you get into the school that you wanted? Did you get into Harvard? Did you get the grades? Did you get the job? All that stuff seems to be the things that really going to help us keep score. So who are you becoming as players? Who are you becoming as a human being because of tennis? And those are the questions. We have an academy at the Human Performance Institute, and I don't think maybe a day goes by, maybe once or twice, that we don't push them. They have to keep a journal, which I found is maybe the single most powerful tool for shaping an individual's brain. And the coaches read it. It's the core of our whole certification program, is having people understand that the best tool for mental training is writing. Getting people to write how they want their brain to speak to them, their private voice, and I will tell you there's nothing gets traction like that does. And that has been an evolutionary process in my own work. And then you have a record of every single thing that person has written, and every day they do mental work with their hand. And we now know with all the functional MRI data, we can see it's so much more powerful than talking, thinking, visualizing, mental rehearsal. Nothing has the power of writing. If you want people to develop character, have them write about it. If you want them to develop gratefulness, have them sit down and write all the things that they can be grateful for right now. For 2 minutes, you just invested in gratefulness. If you put it very specifically, what things can you be grateful for that tennis has brought you? If you never played another day, what could you be grateful for? You don't ever get another ranking. You literally can't play ever again. Was this a gift or not? And they begin to think about, well, what did I get out of this? And to actually start investing in it. And actually, occasionally, maybe, how would you approach if I told you that today was the very last day you'll ever play tennis? You will never play again. This is the last time you'll hold a racket. It's the last time you'll ever keep score. You will never play again. There will be a day that'll be your last day ever that you'll ever play. Let's assume it's today. I want you to go out there with that mindset, as this was the last chance you've ever had to play this magnificent game. And see the return you give it, the respect you give it. How do you want to walk away from this game? It changes the way you approach that day like you can't imagine. And there are ways that we can get people to kind of reflect on the things that we know are most important as opposed to the win-loss record. I want to know, who did you become as a consequence of winning this match? I saw you win it, but I wasn't proud of the way you won it. You dragged yourself around the court. You looked like you scorned at your opponent. You were extremely aggressive, agitated. You always looked outside yourself for answers. I don't get it. I don't get it at all. And if you stay on that kind of on that wavelength, you look at the transcripts of what John Wooten was able to, how he communicated with his players. It was remarkable consistency. There was no question what he valued and how he lived his life to back that up. I mean, it's very clear. So the ultimate scorecard, I think each one of us has to figure that out. And that starts with each of us. When I finish my scorecard onto them, hopefully they'll be able to pass that scorecard on to their children, and we'll start something that really has a real legacy here. And it all started with you. But it's so easy. You're always kind of going upstream. You're always going counter culture when you go into a highly competitive environment and you don't get lost the way everybody else does in terms of the power of winning. It's a very, very seductive trap. And it's very difficult for parents because that's all they know. They've never been trained not to go that direction. And it's not that winning is not important. It's that it's one way of keeping score, but it's not the ultimate scorecard in terms of the value of this game and the effect that this game will have on you for the rest of your life. So, as Stephen Covey would say, you know, maybe the most important thing we do as human beings is we always start with the end in mind. That if you know where you're headed, if you have a very clear picture on the legacy you want to leave behind, then align your energy investments with that purpose. That's what I call purposeful coaching. And there will be models out there for you to follow. You'll have many more models where people win and they treat their players, I call them the screamers. They literally devalue them constantly, and they get them to do amazing things. But they have a hole in their soul the size of an 18-wheeler. And there are always consequences for having been in that environment. So make sure that you know what you want to leave behind. And then follow your energy. Because your energy is really going to tell you what you're growing. So